What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and Most of All Happy podcast. I'm here with a special guest and co host of the episode.
Taylor.
So happy to have you here. So, Taylor is one of our long-standing clients. She's been here for a couple years now, done an incredible job on her transformation. So, we're excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Awesome. So today, the goal of this episode is to teach you all how to lose fat, to keep it off, hear a little bit more about Taylor's transformation, what she's got going on. And the truth is, no matter who you are, you can learn something from this, whether it's you're someone who wants to lose 5 pounds, 100 pounds, you want to gain some muscle. Everything that Taylor's done is going to be applicable to you. So we're excited to have you here and just dive into it. I wanted to ask the first question, which is, what was your life like before you started your weight loss journey? Like in terms of exercise, nutrition, like what were you doing when you were 100 plus pounds, overweight?
Right. So when I was a kid, I was pretty active in sports and things like that. And then whenever I got into college, life happened. I was super stressed. I actually injured my back too when I was a senior in high school, and it just kind of spiraled out of control. I was eating a lot of fast food. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was partying a lot in college, and everything just got a little bit out of my control as far as just overeating, over drinking. And I was going into college, I would say I was not fit, but I was not overweight by any means. And then for about a year and a half into college, I gained over 100 pounds. So it really did happen in a short amount of time for me. And once I got to that point, it was very difficult to just live my life. I felt very restricted. When it came to just going to class or going to work, it was like everything was such a chore. It was so hard for me because I really didn't have the energy. And with my constant drinking, I was like always hungover. I was just always sick. It was very difficult for me. And being overweight and put in any sort of physical exercise was just really difficult for me. And I really tried going to the gym by myself without a coach. And that was very hard. I didn't really know what I was doing. And it was just overall really hard for me. So life before Colossus Fitness and working with Coach Armando, it was a very, very hard time for me.
I hear you. Honestly, we hear a lot of similar stuff, right? It's just like your day-to-day life is not what you want it to be. Like everything ends up just feeling so much worse. You feel restricted in so many different ways. And I'm kind of curious, like, was there a specific point where you just remember being like, okay, I need to make a change? Was it like an outfit? I'm curious to learn more about that.
So it's interesting because this was a couple of weeks, maybe a week or two before I actually reached out to you guys on Instagram. And I had visited my grandma for a week in North Carolina. At the time, I was living in Florida. And the entire week, all I did was just sit on her couch, eat a bunch of food, and drink. And right before we went to the airport, we went to Olive Garden, and I was eating so much. And my cousin, who was like 7 years old at the time, was like, wow, you really eat a lot. And that kind of put things into perspective where a 7-year-old was kind of checking me. And I was like, wow, like this is pretty bad. And I knew that it was bad before then. I had known for years because I had tried to lose the weight for years. But in that moment, I was like, if a 7-year-old can see that, like that's pretty substantial. So as soon as I got back, I started doing some research. I actually came across the Fit, Healthy, Happy podcast on Spotify. And I was like, wow, I'm going to try this. And at first, I was very hesitant to reach out because I'm like, oh my gosh, these like two fit coaches, they're going to see me. They're going to be like, who is this girl? But it was a complete wonderful experience from the beginning. I'm so glad that I reached out. So that was kind of that pivotal moment for me of just, I really need to make a change. And I had been wanting to make a change. It was just very difficult for me to figure it out on my own. And I'm like, you know what? I really need to invest in myself. That's like my biggest thing I tell people. Like, yes, you have to do a financial commitment and you have to make sure that you set the time aside, set the money aside to focus on yourself, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. So that's kind of that pivotal moment for me.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's funny. Like when we first started the business, it was Colossus Fitness. Like we've shared this story, just wanting to be jacked and huge. And then we realized like so many people just want to be fit. They want to be healthy and they want to be happy. So that was when Josh came up with the name. He's like, all right, fit, healthy, happy. Like we're dudes who have a little bit of muscle. You know, we've been working out for a while, but like there's people like you. There's so many like amazing females and moms and post college students and just people who just want to feel better. And that's where it's like sometimes people will be a little intimidated, right? You see the page, you're like, ah, dudes lifting heavy weights, but it's like, no, it's just, it's more than that. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And honestly, that makes that made it the whole difference. Like you're stepping on stage this week, which we'll get into in just a bit. I'm so excited about that. But I still want to go back to like the start of your journey. Like, what do you think helped in terms of the small habits? Like, just let me expand here. So many people when they have a lot to lose, they just feel like they have a million steps to take. They're just like, I have to do this. Like, I'm curious what small steps you made like in the start that really helped out.
I think a lot of it was just writing things down. The spreadsheet that Coach Armando shared with me made a huge difference as far as just writing down my macros, writing down my weight every day. And really seeing that on every single day helped me stay motivated. And even when motivation wasn't there, it helped me stay on track because I can see the numbers. Like I'm a very big data person. So when I'm seeing those numbers, it really did make a big difference for me. So I would say just the habit of weighing in every single morning, tracking that, and tracking my food in the beginning of the day before I even eat, like pre-logging all of my food, that made a huge difference because I'm just so used to overeating and over engorging and just eating kind of on the go. So having that plan at the very beginning of the day, having it written out in my spreadsheet made all the difference for me.
I love that. And even just on the topic of getting to that next level, like what a lot of people don't realize is their identity has to change. So beforehand, you were someone who drank, you partied, you know, overindulged in food. Like as the entire journey shifted, like you went from that person to like what identity change did you end up, you know, turning into?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a completely different person. And when people say, oh, you can't ever change, people can change. I mean, fundamentally, my personality is the same. But as far as just my confidence, my energy, just the way that I start every single day is completely different. The decisions that I make on a daily basis, whether it's just, you know, whether it's fitness related, work related, or personal related, everything has changed. I look at things from a different perspective, especially now that I'm sober, not drinking any alcohol. My head is very clear. I make better decisions. So just my identity as a whole has completely changed. Definitely, you know, going from very self-conscious, very aware of my limitations. And now it's like I can take it that next step. I can challenge myself. I can put myself in a situation where it's like, you know, this is very hard, but I know I can do it and I know I can get above this. So definitely a completely different person 3 years ago versus now for sure.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the being sober part a few times, and I really believe this is a huge impact, as you clearly do as well. Like, tell me a little bit more about your just how long it's been, how you feel with it, and I truly believe so many people can benefit from it. And even if there's someone who's not struggling, like having a ton, just cutting it out makes such a big difference. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about your story on that.
Yeah, for sure. So before I decided that I was going to stop drinking, I was drinking every day, like heavily every single day. And it became a problem to where I felt like all I thought about was getting home from work and just drinking. And it really affected my mental health. I was already really depressed at the time. So drinking a depressant didn't help at all. And it actually exacerbated it and made it worse. But I really decided to, well, let me back up just a minute. A lot of the challenges that we had with Colossus helped me start my sobriety. And I don't really like to use the word sobriety because I feel I feel like it can kind of spiral into like a whole triggering topic. So I don't want to get into that at all. But the challenges of like, hey, it's 30-day challenge, 60-day challenge, no alcohol. And that was very difficult for me. And I did my absolute best. And a lot of the challenges, I was able to go alcohol free. And then I even took it a step further. Like if the challenge was 60 days, then I did 90 days, I did 100 days. And I kept trying to push myself a little bit further to see how far I can get. And then I officially decided that I was going to cut out alcohol from my life in December of 2023. That was kind of that moment where I'm like, I don't want this anymore. And that's not to say that I won't have a drink or two a year here and there, but definitely not part of my life at all. It's not even something that I even think about anymore.
That's awesome. Yeah, Josh and I were talking yesterday about how it's just it's one of those things where there's two parts to it. So first of all, people who will have too much of it will kind of just they'll put you down for not drinking. They'll can make
Mhm.
it's almost like if you don't, then you have a problem. But
Yes.
also on that note, it's funny because people will it's a keystone habit. So something that like when you drink it leads to like 10 other negatives. Like people are like,
Yeah.
oh, and once again, one drink here and there, but it's like you don't realize your sleep is affected, your work the next day, the decisions that you make in terms of food that day. Like, I mean, obviously from cutting it out and from also just like overindulging in the past, like it's not ideal. It's not needed to get rid of for people if you just have one here and there, but it's like, why, you know?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And when you said like people look at you like you have a problem if you don't drink. And I'm like, that's just not part of my life anymore. And I can still go to a restaurant and have fun. I just don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm constantly surrounded by it. And that's just a personal choice. And it has nothing to do with anybody else. I would never try to tell someone that they should cut out anything or be a certain way. That's just how I live my life. And it just works for me.
Awesome. And even just like it's amazing to think of how you've lost this weight and kept it off and you're still thriving. Like the other day we made the podcast, the biggest loser, Ozempic, talking about those fads and things that just don't work. So it's like so amazing to see you here, just like years later, just still thriving, like still crushing it. So yeah, and like what's really interesting, and I'd be curious, like was there a point where you did feel kind of like I want to hop on this trend or this fad or like just anything like that? Or what did we catch you early enough to like save you from doing any of that? I'm kind of curious if you ever had any of those points.
Yeah, so whenever I went into college, that was about 2013. And when I started to gain a lot of weight was about 2014. And I started working with you guys and Coach Armando in 2022. So between that time, I had tried 100 different things to try to lose weight. A really big one was intermittent fasting. That was something that I was really trying. And that was difficult for me being a binge eater, having to wait to eat. But it actually made my binge eating worse because I would completely restrict myself for about, 12 hours a day. And then I would try to fit as many calories as I could in such a short amount of time. So it actually made it worse for me. I tried keto a couple of times, realized that is definitely not for me. I definitely thrive on carbs more than anything. So yeah, I definitely try to do intermittent fasting was pretty much the really big one that I tried to jump on a few different times. But of course, it's for me personally, it was not sustainable. And with my current eating habits, it just made it worse. And that's not to say that anybody that tries it won't be effective for them, but for me personally, it didn't. And once I started working with you guys, then the flexible dieting, that just made all the difference for me. Especially because I love sweet foods. I love super savory foods. Like I really do enjoy, I'm a foodie. I enjoy food. So having that 80-20 rule really allowed me to still enjoy the foods that I like without restricting myself. So I've definitely tried the fads a few times, but the flexible dieting definitely works best for me.
Yeah, it really is all about the sustainability, the flexibility, and Taylor's an amazing example of this. Who is someone who's lost all the weight and kept it off. And honestly, one thing that really inspires me, and I'm curious to learn more about, like you started this journey going through grad school, working full time. We hear a million different excuses from people. Like I'm curious how you navigated all this.
Oh, that's a great question. So at the time when I first started my journey, I was working full time. I was a teacher. I was also a cheerleading coach. I was assistant athletic director at the high school that I worked at. and I was in grad school. So it was a ton of different things at one time. Um, and I think that the biggest thing for me that helped was just planning. You have to plan out your days. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna, work out this week and I'm gonna meal prep this week, and you don't really have a plan in place, then it's gonna fall apart. You have to plan every single day. So just getting up, did I want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym? Absolutely not. Did I want to meal prep all of my meals on Sunday? And then by Friday, my meals were like awful. But it's what you have to do in order to hit your goals. If that's something that you want to do, you have to plan it out. So for me, the biggest thing was just having that time management and understanding like I am super busy and I don't have children or anything like that. So I can't speak from like a parent perspective. But being so busy, working 60, 70 hours a week and having grad school on top of it and starting a fitness journey, because right now it's not as bad. It's like, oh, going to the gym and meal prepping is just part of my life. But at the time, especially at the beginning, you just have to see it through. You have to show up every day. You have to be consistent. You have to put in that work because you won't get the output if you don't put in work.
Yeah, I say like show me your calendar, show me your schedule. Like
Mhm.
that'll tell me your priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, even like I was talking to a client, Ariana, yesterday. She sent me screenshots of her week because she was struggling to get in the gym. I'm like, now this is so helpful to see like where's your time being allocated? Where can we find that extra little bit? Even for those of you who haven't followed Taylor on Instagram, you should. The Instagram's Taylor Lifts, right?
At Taylor_lifts_. Yeah.
Beautiful. Like she would be always sharing what she has planned for the day, and like it's kind of her little fitness documentation page and which whatnot, which is cool. But like we'd always see like, hey, she's got things planned out. And I always say fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And people kind of may roll their eyes and be like, oh yeah, of course. Like, just it's not that easy. Yeah, but it's just so accurate. And even with Taylor, like she's gone through so many of our challenges and like is always prepared. And what really stands out about your transformation is and just your overall journey is your willingness to like find a solution, right? Most people who fail, they just will write it off. They'll look at their day and be like, oh, there's no way I can find time. For you, you're like, okay, how can I find time? So that is one of the most important questions to ask yourself for anyone. And honestly, on that note, it gets me thinking about your hip surgery, right? So there was an obstacle. Taylor had to go through a surgery. She was out for lower body for a while. I'm curious, like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah. So it's funny. It actually ties in with what you were just talking about as far as making solutions to problems. And an early episode that I listened to of the podcast, I think it was your quote, where you said you could have results or excuses, not both. And that's kind of my mantra. That's something that I always tell people, I always think about. It's like, yes, there's always going to be obstacles. Life is never perfect. Things are always going to hit you and you're going to have to kind of figure it out. And my hip injury was one of those. So last September, I injured my hip and it got to a point where I could not do any lower body workouts. And I went to the orthopedic. They said I had torn my labrum and that I had severe hip impingement. I had a surgery in January. So for a total of 9 months, I was not able to do any lower body workouts. And it was very difficult for me, especially because last summer I had really increased the muscularity in my lower body and I worked so hard for that. But during that time, I could have easily said, oh, I can't work out. I can't move my body. I can't, and if I can't go to the gym, if I can't do what I normally need to do, then, who cares about my nutrition? That all or nothing mindset. I could have easily said, oh, I'm just giving up. This is the end of the world. This is it. I have no control. But Coach Armando would always remind me, focus on what you can control. And what I could control was my upper body. I could control a little bit of movement. I didn't have the ability to get my 10,000 steps in a day, but I could do, some 5-10 minutes on the bike at the gym, could focus on upper body workouts, and I could focus on my nutrition and my mental health, my mindset. So all of those things really helped get me through that obstacle. And even still, I mean, I'm, 7.5, 8 months past my hip surgery, and I still have struggles every day. I have to make sure that I stretch and do mobility 10, 15 minutes a day. I have to really be careful doing any sort of lower body and some upper body workouts just because of bracing and using, your lower body just to hold yourself up. But now I'm back to 10,000 steps a day. I'm back to doing lower body workouts 2 to 3 times a week. And it really just is that you can have results or excuses, but you cannot have both. You need to find solutions to your problems and focus on what you can control, because ultimately we can't control everything that happens in our lives, but we can control what we know that we can control, and not to have that all or nothing mindset.
That's awesome. And it's funny because even sometimes people have like 1 week where they get sick or a small little injury and they just want to quit. It's like
Yeah.
exactly what Taylor said. Just keep going. Like if your goals mean enough to you and your why, you will find a way. It's just a matter of fact. It's just don't let that small little thing. And Taylor's example, it wasn't a small thing. Like she could have just completely given up and said, you know what? Why am I doing this? Let me resort to my old habits. And I'm curious, like the accountability portion of that, I feel like you mentioned and Armando would find ways to work around that. That was pretty big, eh?
Yeah, for sure. And there were times where he's not a therapist, but I feel like I would just definitely vent to him on my check-ins and be like, this is so hard. Like my hip is bothering me so much. I don't know if I can continue doing this. And he was always that good person in my ear to be like, you can do it. Focus on what you can control. You've got everything. Your spreadsheet looks great. Just stay the course. So that accountability really did make a big difference for me, over not only for my hip injury, but just overall in my journey. Because as someone who is extremely overweight, I would second guess myself, and I still do. I second guess myself all the time. Am I good enough for this? Can I do this? And he was always and still is that person to remind me, you can do this, stay the course, you've got it. So that's been very helpful for me, not only for my hip injury, but just over the last 3.5 years.
It's funny. I feel like sometimes people get tired of hearing me say like, you need a coach. We all need coaches.
But it's
And
so true.
it's so true because and I don't ever say anything I don't believe. It's not just to try to push someone for the sake of it. It's just like if you just say, "Oh, my best friend, she's helping me through this." It's like she's going to say exactly what you need to hear or want to hear. She's not going to be able to guide you properly. Like it's great that they're there and you need them, but you need that person that's emotionally detached who can take an outside look and say, "Hey, here's what we're going to do." And let's do it, right? You need that person that will call you out, that will lovingly challenge you, that will support you. And like you could say, oh, like my best friend, like we get this sometimes, like my best friend's brother is like a trainer and he just said he's gonna help me for free or whatever. It's like, okay, like it's not gonna be the same, you know? So
Yeah, it's never going to be the same, especially when you've got somebody that's biased, right? Somebody
yeah.
that's completely outside of the situation can really lay it out for you and kind of give you that reality check when you need it sometimes.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's funny actually. Coach Armando, he's heading to my house in like 30 minutes. We're going to be filming a podcast, like interviewing him. So we'll probably have a
Oh,
lot to
awesome.
talk about here, which will be great. But so, I mean, the big days this week, show day, and I
Yeah.
was going to title. I'm not sure. I was going to title it from 100 pounds down to lifelong success. Or from 100 pounds down to, stepping on stage. But I'll figure that out afterwards, see
Yeah.
which keywords are better. But like, how excited are you? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm nervous. This is the first time I'm stepping on stage. And if you would have told me January of 2022 that in September of 2025 I would be stepping on a bodybuilding stage, I would tell you you were absolutely crazy. I'm definitely nervous, but I'm very excited. I'm doing a competition for transformation category. And everyone within that category has lost like some amount of weight. There's different classes. The class that I am competing in is 75 to 150 pounds lost because I'm about 102 pounds down overall. And I'm very excited about it. I have the ability to get on stage, do my own posing routine, and they're actually showing a 1 minute video of my transformation first. And then as I step on stage and do my routine, my before photos will be on the screen behind me. And it's really just kind of a moment where I can appreciate not only the journey, but how far I've come. I'm very proud of myself. Regardless of the outcome of the competition, I'm very proud of myself and my overall journey. So I'm definitely very excited, and I can't wait to show everybody what my stage presence will look like on Friday.
Honestly, it just looking at the first photo and like how far you've come, and even just like hearing you explain like your habits and the person you were beforehand, like it's just crazy to think that that's going to be taking place. And even for
Yeah.
us, it's like very comforting knowing like when we have people come in here like yourself who has seen the change but is going to also continue to see the change, like we know we've done our job, right? Like I keep thinking of the people from the whatever the documentary was called. I think it was from the Biggest Loser one, where they'll step on stage and they see, oh, I lost 12 pounds this week, and you know they're going backwards. Like
Mhm.
they did not do their job. Like I guess they got a good TV show out of it. It just kind of bothers me. Whereas I'm picturing you stepping on stage, they play the video, and you know you've worked for that. You've worked through every obstacle, you've pushed yourself, but knowing that this is just the beginning and you're not going backwards is like such a great feeling, like for you, but also for us as your coaches, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a lifelong journey. Even though I've been doing this for 3.5 years now, I mean, I've definitely had my ups and downs, but I'm staying the course. This is my life now. It is no longer, oh, I need to plan out my gym. It's just that's part of my day. I show up to work every day. I show up to the gym every day. That's just part of my life, and it really does make a huge difference for me. Looking at it from the beginning to now, just how much my life has truly improved and will continue to improve the rest of my life.
yeah, and even just seeing Taylor, like she's done many of our challenges, right? We have one going on right now, which is awesome. That's why I'm sipping a bunch of water throughout. That's one of our weekly challenges for this week. But like she's done probably close to 10 of them just in general. And like what's really interesting about the people that will not see success, if you look at the habits they have, it's they sleep in, they're not drinking enough water, they're skipping the gym, they're not hitting their protein. There's a list of things. And then Taylor on the other side, and anyone who's successful in their journey, it's I drink my water, I hit my protein, I don't skip the gym. And it's like, it sounds easy. I know it's harder in theory, but like if you want to see change, it's just the habits you create. It's just what you stick to and what your day-to-day lifestyle looks like. So yeah, I was curious, like, because I know a lot of people, they do want to lose like anywhere between 20 and 50 pounds, but they do struggle to stay consistent. Like during the early challenges and probably the self doubts and like, oh, is it worth it? Is it going to work? Like, what helped push you through those difficult times?
That's a really good question.
And by the
Um,
way, before you answer, I didn't share any questions with Taylor. I just said, hey, hop on Zoom,
I'm
and
not
she's
prepared
doing
at all.
great. She's been doing great. Like I didn't share any, and same with Armando after not sharing any questions. I find it's way better than like saying, "Hey, prepare your life story for
Yeah.
this." Like,
It's
so
more,
yeah, yeah.
I think a big part of it was Armando and having that accountability. Also, the accountability in the Facebook group made a huge difference too, because I'm not siloed into my own little world. I'm not the only client that's experiencing this. So being able to connect with people on Facebook and then following people on Instagram, it became more of a kind of gaining some friends with other clients and messaging them and being like, hey, how's it going today? And it's like, oh, I'm having a difficult time. And reaching out not only to my coach, but other coaches and other clients. I think just having that whole community made a huge difference as well, because it's not just me on my fitness journey, it's all of us. And I think that was a huge part of staying the course and staying consistent is you're not the only person that's experiencing these things. There's other people that are going through even harder times than I was, and they were still absolutely crushing it. So if they can crush it, then I can crush it. And it just having other people part of the journey, coaches and clients alike, made a huge difference for me too.
Awesome. So like looking back to Taylor, 102 pounds heavier, like if you were to give yourself a piece of advice at that current moment, the struggles you had, like what would that be if you were to look back and give yourself some tips?
Like before starting or at the
Yeah,
very beginning of my
before starting. Yeah.
starting. Oh. My biggest tip that I always tell people is invest in yourself. Just invest in yourself, whether that's investing in a coach or, people love to say, oh, things are expensive, groceries are expensive, and it's like expensive, and going to the doctor is expensive, medication is expensive. So it's really just about investing in what you want. You have one body. That's it. At the end of the day, that's truly the only thing that you can control. I can't control if my house burns down or if my car breaks down, but I can control what I put in my body. I can control the movement that I do for my body. So just investing not only financially, but also just investing in yourself. Get some books. I love self-help books. That's a big thing for me. Just investing in the things that are going to push you forward, not hold you back or bring you down. That would probably be my big piece of advice.
It's funny, as you were speaking, I was looking at your bookshelf behind you and I'm like, okay, I got to add that in too, right? Because you've gone through all the different books. Like, and even on that topic, I know you've read Atomic Habits. There's been a bunch of great reads. Like anything personal growth related that you feel like stands out to you book wise?
Definitely Atomic Habits is like the top one for sure. That one really made a difference for me, especially like habit stacking, where I would be like, oh, well, I don't have time to do cardio. And it's like, well, I do have time to do cardio because I like to watch stuff on my phone. I like to watch Netflix. So just, having your phone propped up while you're doing cardio, I mean, that's kind of a habit stack, right? Or just, oh, I want to make sure that I'm reading. So if I'm on like a car ride and I'm not driving, reading while, I'm on my way somewhere. Atomic Habits made a big difference for me. And my original copy that I actually ended up lending to somebody is full of highlights, full of notes. That was probably the biggest book for me that made a huge difference.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny, like we didn't tell Taylor to say any of this. This is a person that she is. Like last week, Josh's quote on the podcast was something about like investing in yourself. And I even said, I'm like, I've never regretted a course, anything that we've gotten, like a book, a mentor, anything like that. And even if there is a time where you may look back and be like, it wasn't worth it, like you still learn that it wasn't worth it. There's a time where we tried to get a real estate license, I just didn't like it. I'm like, whatever. At least I know that I don't like it. So it's like, it's just so many people. You look through the statements, it's just like, DoorDash, it's this subscription, it's this, and it's just stuff that's not benefiting you. And you're like, no wonder you're not seeing change. It's like you haven't stepped out of your comfort zone and invest in yourself. But I'm curious, like something that can help other people as well who are just wanting to see change. Like, what are some key things within your day that you find like kind of from earlier on into like later that just the habits? And I want to talk about habits because I feel like anyone who's struggling, it's the habits. It's the habits you have. They're either poor or they're not, or they're either poor or they're amazing. And that's why you're seeing change. Like what habits do you have that you really give credit throughout the day that help you stay on track and see change?
I would say the biggest thing is getting out of bed early, and not necessarily early, but just getting out of bed at a decent time. Because there was a time in my life where I would just sleep in and I would sleep so many hours. And it's like, you really don't need that much. I mean, you need sleep, obviously, for recovery and things like that. But getting like a solid 7, 8 hours of sleep, getting out of bed and moving. So something that I've been doing every single day now that my hip is better, is I've been going for a 1 to 2 mile walk. And now it's been about a 2 mile walk now that my hip's a lot better, every single morning. That starts my day. I get about 4,000 steps in before I do anything, before I even start work. That is a huge thing for me. And not only is it the movement, but it's also getting outside. It clears your head. You get to kind of walk with no distractions, no phone, no music, no computers, no TV. All of these things are kind of distractions and kind of divert our mind too. So getting up at a decent time, moving your body, whether it's going to the gym or going for a bike ride or just going for a walk, doing a little bit of movement really helps clear my head and starts my day before I do anything. That's for me, the biggest thing is having a good morning routine. I personally don't like to feel rushed. I don't want to feel rushed in the morning. I feel like it affects the rest of my day. So if you have that one habit that you just want to make sure that you get done at the beginning of the day, that's going to set you up for success for the rest of the day, I think that would be top tier. I mean, it's for me. So
Yeah, honestly, momentum's everything too. Even how Taylor was talking about getting that walk in. Like for a lot of people, they're always asking a question like, what's gonna make me lose fat? They're always like quick to just try to find every little thing. It's like it's not always about that. It's like what's gonna create the momentum that's gonna help you build the habits that will just be healthy. And it's not about the drink you're having in the morning. It's not about going and running a marathon in the morning to try to lose fat. It's just about being a healthier person and doing the habits that get you to be a healthier person, right? And that's why Taylor's a walking example of this, like literally going to be stepping on stage 100 plus pounds and just still thriving. So I'm curious, if you were to go back in time, I keep talking about it, but I do think it's important. You're obviously struggling. Like, how do you think your results would be different if you didn't join the program, the community, like have the one-on-one coach? Like, where do you think you'd be?
I think I would be in the same position or worse than when I started. Started at, well, in December, I started at 260 pounds. I was able to lose about 10 pounds on my own, mainly because I cut out like soda and fast food for a few weeks, and that helped me drop weight very quickly. And then when I started with Coach Armando, I was about 10 pounds down on my own. But starting at total of 260 pounds, I really think that if I did not listen to the podcast and reach out to you guys and hire and invest in a coach, I think I would be in the same position or worse. I would be still very depressed, very self-conscious. I would probably be even more overweight than I was just because the rapid weight gain that I continue to have over time. I would still be living in Florida. I would still probably be working a previous job that I had. I would not have finished grad school. There's so many different things that wouldn't have happened for me or would have stayed the same or gotten worse. I definitely would still be drinking. I would still be binge eating. And I definitely think that because I had tried so hard on my own, I had tried for years to lose weight on my own, and I just couldn't figure it out. I tell people all the time, they love, especially now with ChatGPT and AI, they're like, oh, well, ChatGPT can just give me a workout plan. They can give me my macros. And it's like, yeah, you have all of the tools to be able to do that, but do you have the mindset? Do you have the accountability? It's like I can give you all the tools to build a house, but if you don't know how to build a house, you can't build a house. So that's something that I really tell people is you've got to have someone, whether it's a coach, which I definitely recommend getting a coach. You have to have that true accountability because sometimes we're our own worst enemies, and usually we are. And if I would not have had that community, that coach, that just the overall experience, I really don't think that I would be here at all because I tried so hard by myself and I just couldn't do it.
Wow, that was like a mic drop moment. That was powerful, and even just like building the house example, that was great. And kind of, it's funny, like you're so right on that. Some people, and you lost 10 pounds, right? Cut out the sugar, cut out the excess stuff. Like people will say stuff like that, and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna do it on my own, and I'm gonna try, and then yeah, I'm just gonna cut out the extra stuff. And it's like, okay, that will work for a bit, but then what? It's like you lose 5 pounds, you lose whatever, 10 pounds. And it's like, what do you do next? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I thought it just always worked just doing that. It's like, no, like there needs to be a next step. And that's what we're always thinking of is like that next step. What do we do when we get to this point? When do we change calories? When do we increase cardio? When do we change workout plans? Like there's always something, right? But I'm curious, you've obviously, I get motivated learning about people's setbacks and obstacles. Like throughout this entire journey, obviously there was a lot of schooling, a lot of teaching, like a lot of work, the hip surgery, any other things that stood out that like were kind of setbacks, but an obstacles that you like kept pushing through.
Yeah. So my first year in my weight loss journey, I went through a divorce. And that was very difficult to be able to maneuver with, not only my fitness journey, but also still working full time and transitioning and moving multiple times. And that was a really big setback. I also, after my divorce, got in a really toxic, abusive relationship. And that really brought me down mentally. There was actually a gap in my fitness journey. So for a time, it was about 6 months or so, I was not working with Coach Armando and Colossus Fitness. I was not going to the gym. My eating and my drinking completely spiraled, and I actually gained a lot of my weight back. So initially, I was 260. I got down to about 185, 190. And then all of a sudden, during this relationship, it just kind of everything went derailed. And I actually got back up to 230. And once that relationship had ended and I was able to get out of that, and then I reached back out to Armando and I was like, I need your help. So even though I had gained a lot of my weight back, he was like, it's okay. We got this. Like you're gonna be back to the normal Taylor, back to even better Taylor. And that's exactly what happened. So starting with him again, I was at 230, and then it just everything dropped back down again, and now I'm sitting at 158. So those are the really big things that did happen to me throughout my journey.
So yeah, even I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. That's obviously, not fun to go through and not ideal. But it sounds like you made it out and you're in a really good spot now. Like you're thriving, you're about to step on stage, which is great. And it's interesting because like even on that note, and I hate to talk about it so much, just like, but most people like no matter what, like having that support, whether it's the tough times, whether it's the great times, whether it's like you're going to play in the finals of the sport, like just the consistency of that throughout. And obviously you saw like it's a little bit less than ideal not having that one-on-one support, right, especially during tougher times.
Yeah, definitely.
And so with that, I'm just going to end this with one last question, Taylor. Thank you so much for being here. If someone's on the fence about joining, what would you tell them based off of what you've, seen throughout your journey?
If you are on the fence, definitely do it. You're not going to regret it. You're going to regret years later when you're still in the same position that you're in now or in a worse position, and you regret not taking that leap and actually hiring the coach. So I would definitely recommend just do it. It is an investment, but again, this is your life, one body, one mind. Do what you need to do to invest in yourself and make it happen. You are capable. Everyone is capable of achieving great things. You just have to believe that you can do it. And if you can't believe that you can do it, your coach will make you know that you can. They will say, yes, you could do it. They're
Awesome.
motivation for you.
And one last thing, if you are wanting to get results, message us Taylor. It is Tayler to our Instagram at Colossus Fit. We'll give you a discount if you're looking to lose fat, build muscle, build amazing habits, and we'll get you those guaranteed results just like Taylor. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, Taylor. It's been absolutely amazing.
It was awesome. This was so cool. Thank you.
And give me your final quote. What's your favorite quote? And then we'll end this.
Oh, definitely. You can have results or excuses, not
I
both.
knew it.
That is
Okay.
definitely my favorite quote.
That's my favorite one too.
Another one, discipline over motivation, because
Nice.
motivation is not always there.
We have the shirts that say you can have results or excuses, not both on the back. We might have to do the discipline one though. It's such a great one. So
That's a good one.
thank you so much. And
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you all being here and especially you, Taylor.
Thank you. I appreciate it.